Hello, and thank you so much for clicking and for watching this video. If you haven't done so already, why not subscribe, leave a like, and of course leave any thoughts, comments and feedback that you might have on this or any of the other videos, because all that good stuff just helps me when I'm creating future content. Slightly different video today. This is, as I've said recently, this is a new channel, small numbers, but I appreciate anyone that subscribes, anyone that leaves a comment, because all that stuff, like I always say, it helps me. Um, but all that stuff's not really sort of important today, because I just wanted to talk about something that affects us all. And I'll just be upfront. We lost a member of our family recently. I lost my granddad, who we all loved him. He loved us, and it's So I'm not going to go into really personal details about um, my relationship with my granddad and how he sort of made me laugh and all that kind of good stuff, because I just don't think that would be appropriate. And if some people do that in their videos for their own family members that they've lost, and that's great. But for me, I just don't think it would be appropriate, and that's personal, and that's just me personally. But obviously, I miss him, and I suppose it's like with like throughout your life, you'll unfortunately you're going to lose multiple people, aren't you? And it's never gets any easier. Um, as is the case now, I suppose. Like even with age, I think a lot of people say, and I hate this phrase. They say things like, "Oh, oh, they had a good inning. They had a good innings." Well, that's no consolation to the grieving widow or the child that's lost a parent. That just doesn't work for me. I always find that a little bit cold. Like, well, she was 90, so she did all right. Yeah, but she died. So how does that help anyone? And I know it's a difficult thing for people to deal with. I don't think we're very good at talking about death. I don't think we're good at dealing with it. I think for me, I think we all deal with it in our own ways. Everyone's has their own personal journey, and I think, I mean, I'm only in my 30s, but I think as you do get older, I think you do start thinking about your own mortality. And when things like this happen, and like my granddad is someone that's been there, you know, all my life, you know, all my life, and he was there before me, and now I'm here and he's not, and that's a very it's very surreal actually when I sit back and think about it, really, that somebody is there and then they're not, and I think it's hard for us to get our heads around that. And for me, I'm not a religious person, and if you are religious, that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. But um, for me, life is about um, making the most of your time here. Excuse me. It's about making the most of your time here. It's about treating others how you sort of want to be treated. It's about being fair. You've got to be kind, but also, like, along the way, we all make mistakes. We all make mistakes. We're all capable of being selfish. We all can be a little bit sharp with our tone. But I think for me, one of the big questions in life is like, what is the meaning of life? And for me, the meaning of life is to be the best person that you can. But you do get people. We've all seen them. People that will tell you you're going to hell. You have to do things this way. You have to follow these rules. You have to follow everything that this book says. For me, I think people are flawed. I think people are flawed. We're not perfect. We're all capable of being really good people, but also we make mistakes. We're flawed, as I've said, and I think it's important that if you make a mistake, you recognise it, you assess why you made that mistake, why you did the things that you did, and you learn from it. And then I think the idea is in life is to not sort of repeat those same mistakes. And I'm quite a reflective person. Like, I'll think about a conversation um, that I had with someone. I could say, oh, I had this conversation with someone 6, 7 years ago, and actually I wasn't very nice. I can go back and think about those things, um, and other things in my life. But I think, that's what it's about. Hopefully when you get to the end, you can look back and go, yeah, I was a good person, and I think my granddad was a good person, and I don't think you can ask any more than that, really. It's like if at the end people say, yeah, he was a good man, he was a good man, he was a good person, she was kind, she was strong, she was considerate, um, whatever. That's what it's all about, isn't it? It's about being good and being kind and considerate of others. And like I say, we're all flawed. We're all capable of having an off day here and there, or having moments in our life where we're not perfect. But I think hopefully we can learn and get better. And I think in terms of grief, um, we all deal with it in different ways. Everybody, as I say, has got their own journey, has got their own path, um, and that's just I don't think there's like a set formula for dealing with grief, for dealing with loss. I think you go through it. Sometimes it can feel like one experience will hit you like in the gut. It will hit you um, a lot harder than another one. But I don't think that's because you care any less or there's any more or less of an impact. I think it's just different every time. But the sadness is there. The sadness is there. And so it did come as a shock in many ways, and in many ways it didn't, because I suppose as a relative gets older, for me, I think I'd sort of prepared myself somewhere along the line, along the way, to like this is getting closer. But you think that, and then it doesn't happen for a while, and then it just happens. Um, but you know, when I think about him, I think he was a good man, um, and he loved all of us. We loved him, and obviously, like we all unfortunately, it happens to all of us. We all have like a limited time on this planet, so we have to make the most of that time, make the most of the people around us, because one of us is going to go first. One of us is going to go first. One day that will be the last time that you see your best friend, or a family member. And I love my family, so I've thought about it a lot since it's happened. Um, I've thought about them. I think about them anyway. I cherish them, but I think just make the most of your friends and your family and the people that are close to you. Be good to other people. Try and be kind. And if don't be afraid of making mistakes, but also learn from those mistakes. And the idea is that you grow and you become a better person, and you can pass your experiences and your wisdom onto other people, and hopefully they'll become better people. But as I say, I don't think there's any sort of set formula to dealing with loss or grief. Everybody has their own path. Not, excuse me, not wanting to repeat myself. Everybody has their own journey, and it just takes time. And I've read things, oh, there are um, these steps. You have to go through these sort of steps to deal with grief. I don't believe that. I believe that there's no rush. You take your time and you deal with it. As for as long as it takes. I don't think that hurt or that pain ever completely goes away. I think it's always there. And I suppose for me, it's not about sort of dealing with something. Like, you deal with your council tax. You don't deal with grief. You I would say that the best way is to probably manage it. You manage your grief, don't you? You manage it, but you don't just, maybe you compartmentalize it, but you certainly don't. I don't like, oh, just deal with it. Just get on with it. Just get on with it. You deal with an ache in your back. You deal with a council tax bill, as I say. You deal with the annoying person at work that chews his sandwich too loud. You deal with that, but you manage your grief and you manage that feeling, that trauma and that sadness and that sorrow. And I think that's just, for me, that's the way that I do it. Um, and I know sometimes when I'm saying this stuff, it can like sound cold or feel cold, or but that's just the way that I deal with it. And look, I've when I've lost people, I go to pieces, but I also realise like that, sadly, and it's another phrase I don't like because it does feel cold. Sadly, life does go on. It continues. You come um, out of you come away from a funeral. You come away from a wake. That's your thing that you're attending for someone that you cared for, someone you knew. But the rest of the world doesn't know. The world continues. It keeps going on and on and on, and it's been going on long before I was here, and it'll go on long after I'm gone. So yeah, you manage your grief. You find a way, and you stay close, and you stay true to those people that are important to you. Um, Tell them how you're feeling. If that's your thing. If not, then you hold it to yourself until you're ready to share it. But I know when I think about my granddad, I know that he was loved, and I know that he loved us, and I don't think you can ask much more than that, So yeah, so it was a bit of a so that was the it was a surprise, but then at the same time it wasn't. That doesn't mean it has any sort of um, less of an impact, or that I feel it less. I think maybe, as I said earlier, somewhere along the line, I'd just prepared for it. Not like I wasn't like every day going, okay, today's the day. But I think when you see someone, um, and as you get older, they get older, you just know it's somewhere. It's on the horizon. It's on the horizon for me. Hopefully, no time soon, but it's out there somewhere. Um, so I didn't want to come on here and talk about really personal stories, because I don't think that would be appropriate. Maybe it'd be nice, but for me, I don't think it would be appropriate. Um, and that's personal to me and my family. But if you sort of watch this and you've lost someone, or you sort of feel the same, or you deal with things in different ways, then if this helps you, then and that's great, because I think it's important that we do share how we feel. I think we have to um, talk about these things. As I say, I don't think we are comfortable talking about death. I don't think we are comfortable talking about grief. I think it's all about move on. I don't think that we um, value the elderly in this country. I think once people get to a certain age, you sort of like it's like you're not wanted anymore for a lot of people. I can honestly say that was never the case for my granddad. I know that he was loved and looked after, um, and sadly, that doesn't happen for a lot of people. That doesn't happen. People get to a certain age, they're either abandoned, the families sort of put them in a home, or you you just sort of you're out. And a lot of people that go into homes, it's almost like, well, it's not like they can't do things. It's just like we haven't got time for come round, so you got going home now because you're old, and you don't get a lot of visitors. it's really sad actually, and obviously it's a lot more complex than that. But just the way I feel about it, just off the top of my head, because I don't script these. I like it to be natural. But no, I don't think we have a. I don't think we treat the elderly very well. I think it's all about sort of moving them on and making room for the next generation. And then it's like, well, you've had your time now. Go over there. Stay over there. But that's that's another video for another time. I don't think that's be appropriate to talk about that now because, um, as I say, that's just not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about loss and sort of sort of um, sort of managing it really. And sort of I think it's good to talk about things. I think it's good to express how you feel. And I think it's good to be open. And it's not comfortable. They're not comfortable conversations to have. I find it really uncomfortable. Um, even just saying this now, when I think about my parents not being around, because I know um, when that subject comes up, I know there's a part of me that shuts down. There's a part of me that doesn't want to deal with it because I can't um, I can't imagine them not being a part of my life. So I suppose like that frightens me because it's your parents and then the idea of one being without the other because my parents just fit. They just fit, um, and it doesn't. And then sometimes I think of like, right, well, what will I do in this situation? How will I manage this? How will I do it? And even saying how will I manage it, like as if you can manage the loss of a parent and then helping that other parent when the other parent isn't that. It's so hard to deal with, and they're here and they're going to be here for a long time. But as time goes on, you start looking at your parents and thinking, oh God, like how will will I be strong enough? Will I be able to cope? You know, um, I can't even. I don't even like talking about that. I don't even like thinking about it because they're like, well, they're your parents, and I love them so. And then I think about like my God, I can't even. I think about my sister, and I think like, well, she's got a family, but either me or my sister will be here at some point without the other one, and that I can't even because I would you know I just can't even I don't even like thinking about it. But that's so I suppose like that scares me. That's a worry, and I know we're all okay at the minute, but um. So yeah, so I suppose like for that's what's been going on with me. Um, you know, it's like sort of losing my granddad. It's like it's yeah it's anyway. But I just wanted to do this because I do try and make sort of my match reaction videos and all that stuff, and that's great. But I just didn't feel like when I got that, I didn't take my camera with me because obviously when I go to my parents, I can't take all my stuff with me. And at Christmas, I took my camera, but then I thought I just didn't feel like I could be fully sort of emotionally invested in talking about the football when all this other stuff was going on. It's difficult, I don't make these videos, um, personal videos a lot, but I thought it was important because it's something that we all go through. We all go through, and I couldn't I couldn't be fully emotionally invested in making videos about my football team or football in general when all this was going on. So that's sort of why I hadn't made one, and I got in yesterday, and I was really um, obviously really disappointed about the Leicester City game, but I couldn't motivate myself to get up and come and make a video about football when all this other stuff's going on. So that's why. Um, so hopefully I'll get back onto them sort of sooner rather than later. But yeah, just take care of the people that are around, sort of the people you love, the people around you, your friends and family, because um, just make the most of them because one day they won't be here, and you want to have that privilege of saying, I knew this person, that was my sister, that was my dad, and that was my mum. That's that's what we want. So thanks so much for watching. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe, and of course leave a like, any thoughts, comments, and feedback. But until the next time, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you all soon.